Hello and welcome to a GameSpew review. I'm Jamie and this week we're looking at The Flame in the Flood, which was released this month on PS4. The Flame in the Flood is a roguelike survival game where you take on the role of Scout, a girl searching for the source of a strange radio signal in a flooded, post-societal North America. Scout's story kicks off when a strange dog called Aesop turns up at her post-apocalyptic campsite carrying a backpack bearing a strange symbol with a radio inside it. Scout wastes no time deciding to set out in search of the sender, and thus begins your journey into the stylishly beautiful wilderness of the Flame in the Flood. During the game's brief but very helpful tutorial, you'll be able to get to grips with the controls, the menu or journal pages, and some survival basics. This being a survival game, there are a number of factors that you have to balance as you play. Scout needs to eat, sleep and rest, and if she's cold or wet she's going to get pretty unhappy too, which can lead to a drop in the other stats, as can negative effects like infections, lacerations and broken bones. In order to survive in the wilderness, Scout will need to visit various islands on her journey to gather all manner of resources, including food, water, crafting materials and much more. Each island is different and they all boast a range of features from basic campsites and shelters, to churches, marinas and even dislocated areas of old towns. Gathering and crafting are naturally at the heart of The Flame in the Flood, and despite its simplicity, the game's crafting system is easily one of the best and surprisingly deepest I've encountered in any survival game. Alongside a multitude of naturally collectible resources, Scout has an extensive library of schematics that she can draw from, and crafting items is often as easy as selecting the thing that you want from the crafting menu and hitting X. Of course, there are some caveats. Anything you craft has to be crafted from something, so you'll need to have that thing in your inventory before you begin. Some items need to be crafted from other craftable items, and some more advanced items can only be crafted at workbenches. Anything you create also needs to be able to go somewhere, so your next task is going to be managing Scout's inventory, and that's a task you'll be performing a lot. At the start of the game, Scout's inventory is woefully, prohibitively small, forcing you to really consider whether or not anything you pick up is vital to your survival. Aesop has an additional inventory, as does your raft, but it's still not enough for you to be able to feel comfortably well provisioned in the early stages. The America of the Flame in the Flood is a dangerous place. Scout's path follows the course of an enormous river that has burst its banks and taken vast swathes of land, including villages and towns, along with it. The other third of the game, after resource gathering and inventory management, is played out on the river itself. As soon as the tutorial ends, you'll find yourself in control of Scout's raft, ready to set sail on the procedurally generated waterways. Scout's raft too can be upgraded and modified, adding essential equipment such as a water collector, a shelter and even an engine. In the beginning though, all you've got are a few planks, a barrel or two and an oar to steer yourself between the harsh rocks, the bobbing motorcars and the tangles of uprooted trees, not to mention the occasional house, as you forge on to whatever challenge the next island will throw at you. The Flame in the Flood is a game that emphasises forward motion, so once you've visited a place you're never going to be able to go back. There will be times too when you're presented with 3 or 4 landing options at once and have to judge for yourself which will be the most useful at the time, forcing you to constantly evaluate your position, your provisions and your grand plan to make it through this alive. Ceaselessly pushing onward seems to be the soul of The Flame in the Flood. Everything about the game feels geared towards making sure that players continue to press on. The campaign mode features, while not a story per se, at least a motivation for the player to understand and concentrate on, a focal point to keep Scout's journey moving, where other survival games might just plonk you down on an island or in the middle of a wilderness and let you get on with it. The flow of the river, the way it pulls your little raft inexorably ever forward, the frustration of feeling like you've never got enough stuff, the way the game seems to dissuade you from staying over long in one place by limiting the types of resources you can find there, all add to the feeling that the game is going somewhere, that eventually there will be a conclusive revelation that will make it all worthwhile. Despite a few imperfections, The Flame in the Flood successfully captures the intricacies of the better class of survival games and wraps them in a very neat, very pretty package, complete with an awesome alternative country soundtrack by Chuck Reagan. It also adds a sense of urgency in its narrative, a unique and engaging challenge in the procedurally generated world, the ability to actually complete the game via the campaign mode, and not a little satisfaction of making it through the other side, and seeing just what truths await at the river's end. 8 out of 10.
Drifting